Hey, everybody. Thank you all that are joining us right on time here. We're going to give everybody just a minute to get logged into the webinar, get their audio set up. And in just a moment, we're going to be covering some housekeeping items and some basic agenda for the start of today's webinar. On the session today, you've got both myself, Liam, I'm our Director of Solution Engineering here at Compliancy Group, as well as Anne-Marie, who is our director, one of our directors of product compliance content. She is actually a former compliance officer, as well as a privacy attorney. Anne-Marie, I'm not sure if you wanted to give any other background information on yourself as we're kicking things off here.
I'm a compliance geek, right? I just really love compliance. I've done it in the healthcare sphere for over 30 years, and I'm just glad to be sharing this new incident management tool we've built.
Brilliant. Hopefully everybody could hear us. If you could maybe just send through one of those little emojis, let us know that you can hear us, let us know that you can see us. The topic for today is going to be incident management, specifically focused on actually some of our new incident management features. So for those of you that are listening today, our hope is that you both hopefully just get a good education today on healthcare incident management and what's involved in it, but also some tips, some guidance, some input from Anne-Marie as we go through the session. But also, we actually want to spend some time bringing you through our platform and the new feature set that we have focused on hotline reporting and incident management. Anne-Marie will be spearheading that in the session today. Before we kick things off, I am going to just launch 2 polls. These polls always help us just get a gauge on the audience that we have in attendance within the session today. And so that, especially for Anne-Marie, as we're actually talking through the different features and functionality of the system, we want you to have a clear kind of just a clear understanding of who you are and where you come from. So the first poll, this is an important one, is how large is your organization? You'll see this pop up onto your screen now. This is helpful for us primarily just because incident management in a 10 employee or less environment is going to be radically different from a 500 plus employee environment. And so depending on who you are when you're coming into the session today, looks like most of you, so really only 3% of our attendees today are in that less than 10 employees category, which is actually kind of nice to see. I will say, if you're in that less than 10 employees category, I'll say a lot of what we'll be covering today will be a little bit more geared towards larger organizations, you'll be finding, but there's still a ton of benefit in here for you, so feel free to still stick around. So a nice mix of folks. The majority of you, almost the overwhelming majority, are in that 100 to 500 employee mark, which is just great for us to see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this down off of the screen now. So you'll see me close the poll and this will come off the screen. Next one is going to be, what do you currently use for incident management? And you'll see that there are 3 options that pop up on your screen here. One is if you're using spreadsheets and primarily manual processes. The other is if you have a dedicated software or an automation tool right now for incident management. The other is for those of you that are not sure, maybe even what you're doing for incident management, and you're really just here to learn. So a majority of you, roughly 74% from the votes that have come into the poll so far, majority of you are doing this with spreadsheets and manual processes, and that's to us. We hope to show you some of the benefits of systematizing these things. For those of you that are currently using a software for this, roughly 22% of you, we hope to maybe showcase not only the benefits of our tool for incident management, but also some other ways that you can use our platform to centralize and consolidate compliance management as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and take this down off the screen. You should see this go away now. So thank you all again. for just participating in that. Again, just helps us make sure that this content is accurate and relevant for you. And Marie, if you wanted to go to the next slide, I'll start by saying, for those of you that know nothing about Compliancy Group, we have been around for 20 years now. We work with over 3,000 organizations throughout the country. Our focus is and has always been on healthcare compliance. We have focused most specifically on mid-sized healthcare organizations, which is the overwhelming majority of you on here today. Again, as a rough agenda, we're going to be starting by giving just some general background education as it concerns incident management, as well as things like hotline reporting. And then we're going to actually spend some time going through our software so we could show you some of these new features that we just recently released. So with all of that said, I actually, I'm going to pass this over to Anne-Marie now to cover the presentation. And I'll be in the mix here, just kind of chiming in with questions and insights of my own as we move along. But Anne-Marie, I'll let you take it away here.
Great. So managing incidents often looks like this. And what you all just told us in the survey is, right on, right? You've got 20 different softwares, you've got everything in Excel and a couple of things in Word and maybe a few folders, and then you probably have a lot of paper. And it's really just not a very efficient way to run a compliance program, as you all know from the pain points you're feeling from doing it this way. I had to do it this way for part of my life, and I joined the software team because I wanted to build a tool that helped help people like me, really get actionable items and efficiencies and build operational efficiency into the process so that, I'm not using spreadsheets and Word documents and SharePoint sites. It made it very difficult to spot trends and gaps because everything is not consolidated into one area. Operational efficiency and duplicate data entry in spreadsheets and reports and other things that you had to build. Um, as you all know, although you can put security around spreadsheets, there's the possibility of data corruption, especially as they get really large, data loss. There's no version control. You can't tell what it looked like 3 weeks ago as to what it looks now and what changed since then. There's a lack of security and access control, and it's really difficult to maintain, right? You don't have a lot of actionable items that come with these spreadsheets unless you've spent a significant amount of time building that into them. And still, it's not usually an overview of all of your incidents or hotline reports. A smart approach to incident management is being proactive, right? Having an organizational structure around them so that you are not um, in a chaotic situation when you have something very serious to handle. You have a place to put it, you have a process in place to handle it, you have availability of, messaging with the person who was the reporter, you have the availability of assigning tasks to people within your organization, you have the ability to collect all of your evidence, and you have a data trail of when you did those things so that if it ever should come to an investigation or an audit, you have proof that you were actioning it right from the start, which is really, really nice. It really makes it feel like you're being proactive and that you have a tool to help you handle things and keep things calm in situations that can get a little bit, tense. Have any of you experienced that? I want to see by all of your thumbs up. How many times is it so tense because, you don't even have a process around how to handle it? I know that was my situation when I went into an organization that had an immature compliance team. So meet the Guard's incident management tools, right? Right now, I'm going to take us into the Guard itself. I've already logged in so that you don't have to go in there and see, how to do that. But on this side of our navigation panel, you can see that we have an area called Hotline Reports and then an area called Incidents. This is where you manage incidents. This is where you take in reports that you receive from outside vendors, from your own staff, from patients, from members of the public. This is where all of that comes into our system. It feeds automatically. And maybe Liam, if you could show them how it feeds in from an employee portal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And folks, I'll add that for any of you that have questions as we're going through the session today, I would encourage you to either send us a chat or utilize that Q&A feature in here. The reporting functionality within the Guard, if I get the employee portal open here, there's multiple opportunities and ways that you could actually use the reporting functionality. And let me actually just swap the screen share here, make sure that this is coming up. You know, it might actually not let me do the screen share. Let me
Okay,
see.
that's fine.
There we go. So in the employee portal within the Guard, it allows you to have not only an employee have visibility into compliance related tasks for things like policy attestations and training, they're also able to just click a button that brings them to your incident reporting form immediately. And this is the Hotline portal that we're going to be talking about in just a second here, right? So if I'm gonna pass this back to you now, Anne Marie. So let me put this back up on. But I think one of the things that might be helpful, Emery, is if we could take a second and just clarify some of the terms that we're going to be using in the session today.
Sure.
And I think especially sometimes the phrase hotline reporting compared to incident management, I know can sometimes be confusing, especially since we have a somewhat unique approach to hotline reporting. So if you could just take a second and clarify some of those terms for the audience, I think that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. What we have done is we've kind of separated the reports that are coming in from the actual management of incidents. And the reason we did that is, as you know, not all hotline reports that come in are actionable or true or anything that you actually have to take specific action on other than an initial review of them to make sure that they're, you know, a lot of the things that you might get reported are actually not violations in any way, right? They meet your policies and they meet the requirements of the law. So you don't want to have them in your incident reports. So we have separated them out. And it also allows you then, if you have multiple hotline reports that are reporting on the same incident, you can only report one incident, even though you might have 5 hotline reports, and that really helps make sure that you are not duplicating incidents and over-reporting incidents, in your reporting. So our hotline reporting is 24/7 incident reporting. You can do it with a QR code, you can do it with a URL, and then you can do it through, the employee portals that your individual staff members will have. We make sure that it meets regulatory requirements. It's customizable to your organization. You can put branding on it. You can change the messaging that's in it. You can change the information that's collected on the form. Um, and then you can set smart routing and alerts for each thing. So every time maybe like an OSHA matter comes in the door, you can make sure that that goes to your OSHA person. And anytime a regulatory issue or maybe a clinical safety issue comes in, you can route it directly to the compliance team or to your quality team, whoever would be receiving those. And maybe if it's a facility related one, you need to have eyes on that immediately for your facility team. It can go there, which is really nice. And then incident management is really where once you've looked at the hotline report, you have decided that, yes, this is an actual incident. I really need to get moving on investigating it and doing something with it and addressing it. You can make the hotline report into an incident, and it will bring over some of the information. It will connect that hotline report to that incident. If there's multiple hotline reports, you can connect multiple hotline reports to that incident. And in the incident management tool, that's really where you've got your investigation workflow. It's where you're collecting all your evidence. It's got confidentiality controls around it, significant ones. There's even a privilege feature where you can literally only people that are invited to that incident can review the details of that incident. And you've got that reporting and audit trail on everything that you're doing, a comprehensive history. You've got all of your evidence in one place. You've got all of your tasks, who they were assigned to, when they were completed, all the follow-up. If you need to do a corrective action plan, you can do that in here as well. And you have, reporting on whether or not there was an external report required. If you did it, then you can obviously put the report in there. Everything is dated. You won't be able to change the dates in here. So if somebody questions whether you truly did that on the date you said you did it, you can show that you uploaded it then. It was in the system at that time. So that's why we've kind of separated them out. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense to people, because if you're only getting 3 or 4 incidents a year, maybe the hotline reporting tool is all you need. And for the smaller clients and prospects that are on this call, that might be all that you want to purchase. But the incident management tool is really where the power is in creating efficiencies and doing all of the things that are required to be audit ready.
Mm.
So hopefully
So,
that helps.
so here's a question. I'm seeing some people say that they don't have any audio um, in the chat. Can y'all hear me now? All right, so people are saying that they could hear me. Maybe we
Can you
had
hear
a
me?
maybe we had a brief technical difficulty. I could hear you just fine, Anne-Marie.
Okay.
So seems like, all right, so maybe some people had to refresh it. Anne-Marie, talk one more time and we'll see if the people in the chat can hear you.
I'm on the Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
All right, there we go. All right, have everybody saying that they could hear you. So maybe it cut off just for a minute. So Anne-Marie, I think like just to get an understanding of the workflow here, could we maybe go into the Guard and go through some of the back-end settings and maybe show people the portal itself as far as the form that gets filled out, and then maybe go into the hotline reporting module from there?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I was just showing where it would be and how you access it. So for each of these separate modules, the hotline report and the incidents, you have the availability to do a lot of different things that make it specific to your organization. You've got the portal address. This is where you can create a QR code as well. And then obviously all of your employees will have access to that. If you want to set a time to resolution for hotlines, if you want, specific things addressed within 7 days, that somebody has to touch it within 24 hours, whatever your target is, um, time to resolution, you know, you can set that here. You can also leave this blank, and then the reporting on that, just won't be in there. But setting a time to resolution allows you to see if, maybe you thought you'd be able to do it in 30 days and you haven't, that maybe, more action or more resources need to be put towards it. You also have event types. These are, you can put as many as you want in here. We have specific ones that we've already put in for you, and you have the ability to turn them off if you don't want them. And then you have the ability to add more or take them away. So this board matter was added. Um, and then, you can add as many as you like. We try to make the event type ones be um, public facing, so things that maybe they could understand. This is probably not how you want to categorize your events, but it kind of allowed them to make a choice. If they're not even very familiar with what things might be, these things might make sense to them.
hmm. Do you think that, I guess for a typical compliance officer in that event types field, are there situations in which they might have a need like that's more isolated? Because I'm thinking like I've spoken with some folks that are very focused on safety incidents,
Mhm.
others that are focused very heavily on privacy and security incidents. Um, what do you encourage people to do in those types of situations? Like, are they able to use this for those more focused needs as compared to the much broader needs?
Absolutely. And like, for example, some organizations do not have HR incidents reporting through the same tool that the compliance team would be using. So then you could turn the HR incidents off, right? And you could direct people on the form to report it, and you can give them a link, you can give them a phone number wherever they would be reporting those. You can give them specific direction to do that, which is really nice. That's why it's great that you can customize the language here. Um, and if, like, for employee conduct or maybe patient care, you don't call it that, you call it something else. You can turn this category off, and then you can create a category which would be, how the language that you're utilizing in your organization.
Mm.
Um, so we tried to be mindful that not everybody wants to set these up themselves, um, but also mindful that you might want to set them up yourself. And I would imagine, you need to do this at the very beginning of when you're starting to use the guard so that all of your reporting is in the language that you want it to be in.
Yeah. Now, if you go to the routing settings there, one thing that I would direct everybody's attention to as well is you'll see there's two options here actually for routing. One that allows you to route by event type.
I'm
So
seeing that we have this improperly labeled, so we'll fix that.
yeah, so it should be routing by location versus event type, and it looks like they got swapped somehow, so that'll
Yeah.
be fixed quickly. But two things here, one of them being that you, in customizing that dropdown of event types, when an employee goes to report an incident, what Anne Marie was just covering, that's the dropdown that they would see. So they'll be able to pick the incident that they're trying to report. But in these settings here, you can adjust who actually gets notified from that report.
Right, and you'll
So
see here that for ethics compliance, since I'm the compliance officer, I would have it, addressed to me, and then, Liam's on all the other ones because he handles everything else. But it's very easy to change this, and it just gives you, choices.
yeah, in your experience, Emery, what are the most common incident types that at least you've seen maybe our customers handling or that you've handled in the past?
I think it depends on the organization you're in, and one of the organizations that I was in, we had a lot of people with developmental disabilities, and they were literally able to file a complaint for something as simple as, they wouldn't let me change the TV to the program I wanted to watch because everyone else wanted to watch something else. We had
Mm,
to record all of those things. So you might have a lot of complaints and grievances like that. You might have a lot of privacy and information security, like HIPAA related things. You might have a lot of facility issues, like there's a spill on the third floor and we can't get somebody, we need somebody here immediately. And obviously, those things would probably go to different people, right? Because
yeah,
the compliance officer isn't going to be able to respond to a spill the way the maintenance department would, right?
yeah,
So it doesn't mean that you wouldn't need to have visibility to it, but it means that they would be the first person to know.
sure.
So
Now,
yeah.
looking at that custom field options, thinking through like the different types of incidents that could be reported, could you talk through like maybe a few of the types of custom fields that maybe might come to mind from your experience? Like maybe there's the basics that we capture on the form, but both showing some of the functionality here and how you might think through using this.
Yeah, what we haven't in we did a very broad, um, sweep in what's included in the regular fields that are there, but what some of the things that you might wanna involve, like, if you have multiple organizations, or multiple practice names, you might wanna ask what is the practice name of the location where you are? Or you might wanna ask, "Is there anybody else that I should talk to? Who else was there? Who else witnessed this?" Even if they want to remain anonymous, they might be willing to tell you other people that were there.
Mm,
Um, and if it was an individual that's on staff, was a staff member involved, and who is it? Um, it makes it obviously much, much easier for you to gather the information that's important to your investigations.
yeah.
And then you can add more. Like if you're finding that you're having to ask a lot of follow-up questions about the exact same thing, maybe you want to add that to your form
Mm.
so that you don't have to do that again.
Yeah, and I'll point out to everybody that there's that little checkbox on here that allows you to make these required or not required. So maybe there are optional fields that you want to add or required fields that you would elect to have on there. Very much up to you. So it's a very flexible tool
There's
set.
also 3 kinds of custom fields that you can enter. It's like a short text field where it's, you're expecting not a real long answer, and then there's a longer field where, they might have to tell a story or present a scenario to you, and then there's a drop-down one where you can pick the choices that are available to them. And then you can also say whether or not they can check multiple things. So maybe if A and B are both true, you want them to be able to select both.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe next we could go into an actual hotline report, Anne Marie.
Okay, I just
And
wanted to spend a second on the branding.
oh
So
yeah,
this is also where you would add your own branding if you have any that you would like to add. And then you can change the message that they see when they're reporting. And then you also have the chance to change the message that they would see after they've reported. So if you want to tell them what to expect after they've reported something, I would absolutely tell you that you probably should thank them for submitting it, and all of those things, anything that you want to do here, you can do that. This is fully customizable by you.
yeah,
Okay, so then we go
I've
to the
had some
hotline reports.
people I've had some people tell me that even in that little introduction message, they have unique specialized instructions that they want their employees to follow when they're filling out the form as well. And you could put a lot of those details in there too.
Yeah. Offline, Liam, are you able to open the actual form itself?
Yeah,
Okay, why
yeah.
don't you do that and I'll show them what it looks like once it comes in. And Angela, are you able to report one? I don't know if she can hear me. We're going to have somebody try to report one so it comes in live. But in the meantime, this is how they come in, right? You can look at them if you have a new one. If you only want to look at the ones that are new, you can filter by that. You can filter by things that are just reported to you. These are all going to be my reports because they're, and if you want to look at things that were marked high priority by the reporter, that's great. You have a status, which you can set. The priority is set by the person who reported it, right? So it's important to know how urgent they felt it was when they reported it. And then you can go in and see um, how it creates that nested look at the history of what you've done here. Um, you can upload attachments. You can send new responses. So um, we have the ability in the hotline for people to report anonymously, but even if they report anonymously, they can provide an email, which is blinded to your organization. But you would then have the ability to request a response from the person who reported it. If you had further questions, you're not able to fully investigate it because you don't have enough information or whatever, you can do that. You can put notes in here, any kind of note you want to add. This is a note regarding moving forward. Need resources. And then it just shows up here that there's a note. And that's what it tells you what it did. So yeah, and you can change the owner. So if Liam isn't the right person and I need to be the right person, I can select myself and make myself the owner of this. It gives you all of the important information right here. And it gives you the full history here.
Yeah, that's great, Emery. Thinking through like that request response feature, could you click into that quickly and show the different options that they have for how and who they can request response from? So you see here, folks, that this allows you to actually follow up with people that are not admin users in the Guard. We'll talk about how admins can get involved in the system here in just a second. But let's say that I received an incident report and I want to follow up with an employee I want to follow up with somebody external to the company. I want to reach out to the hotline reporter directly. Uh, you can go in here and request a response from any of these people. Uh, if the hotline reporter elected to remain anonymous, it will, and they include their email, it will still allow you to reach out to them, which is a nice feature. But even just being able to quickly send a message to an employee and capture some additional incident details in here electronically, uh, it makes it really simple because you'll see Anne-Marie just selected me, and it allows her to put a quick subject and a body in that message where she can request additional information. That will come directly to me, and I'll be taken to a secure portal where I can upload any additional evidence or give any additional insight that I like into that specific report. Makes it easy to collaborate with others. So, and my response would go directly in line with her request for additional information. So it's a cool feature and makes it really easy to manage and administrate that process of following up with people without needing to do tons of manual documentation.
And that's what this looks like. So Liam sent himself a note, and then he got a reply here, and then he can reply to that. And so it's just nested. So you have, it's easy to see what they're replying to. You're not guessing
Yeah.
when there's multiple requests for responses out.
Oh, I'm just checking to see if we have any questions on this part of the system, Anne-Marie, and I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any questions come through regarding the hotline reports module.
Okay,
Was
great.
there anything? Was there anything else you wanted to show in this area before we talk about like? I, I think it might be helpful if you talk through a scenario where you're reviewing one of these reports and need to escalate it, both why you might do that and like practically speaking, but why it might be helpful specifically in our system, and then where it goes, what additional things and options you have from there.
Sure. And there is also reporting available here. I'll go through the reporting at the same time I go through the incident reporting that's available, but you can export the details of just one incident just by doing that right here.
Mhm.
If you want to create an incident out of a hotline report, it's very easy. Honestly, you just go in here and you create an incident. It takes you right over into a form that you can fill out if there's any other additional information you want to add. Um, all of these things. Where does it impact? What's the severity of it? This is what helps you prioritize your work. If you have multiple incidents going on, it's really great to be able to do this and make sure that you are, using your resources towards the highest priority issues, rather than flailing away at something that's less important and has a smaller impact. You can set the priority. It's based on what they said, but then you can, obviously create it as a high, whether it's ongoing. This will happen automatically by the report itself. Um, the severity of it, where is it impacting? So let's say you have to do sentinel event reporting. You can mark these a sentinel event. You can mark these affects 500 or more individuals so that you know the heightened reporting requirements for HIPAA are in place. If it's a grievance or complaint and you have additional things you need to do for a grievance or complaint, you know immediately that that's in here. If an external report is going to be required, you can click that. If that's not um, obvious now, you can go back in and change this later, right? So if you're finding that it's more severe than you thought, or it is actually a data security incident that you have reporting requirements in place, you can do that. And you can also click that the external report was filed. You can select who's going to be doing it. You can select a location. Um, the reports themselves, the hotline reports, are not always accurate. Maybe you call that location something else. You can call it exactly what you call it, right? You can choose from the actual locations that your offices are in. You can select whoever's going to work on it, and you can select if it's privileged. And then you can do the categories. So the categories in the incidents are very much similar to the hotline reports, except they're much more um, detailed. So I suggest that you categorize thing in no more than 15 main categories. I would really try to keep it to 10 so that your reporting isn't too fractured. But then for each of those, you can have as many subcategories as you like. So if you have data security incidences and you want to put phishing or malware or, password sharing or whatever they are, you can have subcategories on that. And then we have reporting by subcategories of those primary categories so that you can get a little bit more detailed in the reporting if you need to, but keeping the primary categories where your major reporting would be, your higher level reporting. And then again, so this is a custom field that was added to this. Who else is involved in this incident? And anything that you want to do here. So yeah, I can save this and then it would add it as an incident.
We we have two questions here, Emery, before we get into the incidents themselves. Christy asked, for accreditation purposes, what is the difference between incident reporting versus a complaint log?
That depends on how your accreditor defines complaints. Um, for me, incidents, you might want to put them in two categories, right? You can have multiple categories for something if you want, but then you can over report. So you have to be careful there. But yeah, I mean, it depends on how your accreditor is defining complaints. And honestly, most of the complaints, some of the licensing requires complaints. Like if you're licensed in um, the example I'll give is developmental disability care, foster care for adults. They have very specific grievance and complaint processes. So you might want to put it there because you have to prove that within 24 hours did X and within 48 hours did Y, and within, 3 weeks did Z. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can use both of those
Yeah.
categories,
Would
both of those indicators.
would there be a situation in which they could use something like uh, the hotline reporting module to capture patient complaints, but maybe there's only like a small percentage of those that actually need to be escalated into an incident, and the rest could live in that hotline reports tool and be resolved there?
It depends. It depends on what your licensing and an accreditor require, right? You can have resolved without action ones, right? You can have rejected and give a reason why it was rejected, and do all of those things. So if it's not something that actually is an incident or a grievance, even though it was reported that way, you can do that. But for most complaint logs, you still have to log every complaint, whether or not it's actionable.
Sure. Okay. So it would need to almost be defined as its own category.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, really helpful. So in terms of, there was one more question, and let me just make sure yes, one more question. Somebody asked, is it possible to aggregate data in reports similar to SQL queries for analytical purposes?
There is,
So,
and I'll show you that in a few minutes once we've gone through some of the provisions here in the incident manager. That you can see right here. We have lots of different types of reports, and some of them are summary reports, and some of them are based on specific categories or locations. And I'll show you what those look like in a minute or two. So yes,
awesome.
the aggregation is creating the efficiency, right? It's a really wonderful tool. Um, I think one of the things that is great here is how much information is available to you, whether or not you've opened it to look at all the details, right? You've got the priority, you've got the severity, you've got the status um, of everything. You have the basic description of it. You have the incident number. You see this one was filed in 2026, and these were filed in 2025. It just kind of allows you to look at things clearly. You can sort by, you know, the occurred date, by the status if you want. You're just monitoring this one. If you want to do it, action plans, these are the ones that, are in state of being addressed and mitigating. And then these are the ones that are still working in an investigation stage.
Awesome. Maybe we could go into one of the incidents and show some of the more advanced features there. I imagine that especially one of the things I hear from a lot of our customers is the need to document things like corrective action plans associated with an incident, which is frequently very manual. So wondering if you could talk through that process here, Emery.
Sure. You could do a corrective action plan in here. You can list all of the tasks for that corrective action plan. You can see whether or not they've been completed. You can add the evidence of the corrective action plan. So let's say part of the correction plan was doing a new training for all employees because they're just not understanding not to leave their patient charts open on an unlocked workstation. And you do, a lunch and learn, and you do a newsletter, and you do maybe an LMS short course or whatever. And you can put all of the evidence of those things right here and attach them to your corrective action plan. So when you're looking at them, you can add evidence to them and add tasks here. And you can see in the history when you've done that. You can also see the related hotline reports here. And then you give like an overall status and information.
I think the cool thing here, folks, is the way that the system connects all of the dots. Like if you click on that related tab one more time, Anne Marie. So let's say like there was an issue with this employee who left out a patient chart. I might redistribute a training just to that one employee as part of my corrective action plan, which I could also do in the guard. And then if I just click that add button right next to training, it allows me to associate either a policy that was distributed to them or the training that was distributed to them, also as evidence in here of that corrective action plan. So you see Anne-Marie just click that add training button. It allows her to pick from that drop down of trainings that have been distributed from here previously, so that all of that is then tied in this log of related documentation. You can pick policies, you could pick the trainings, and then you could also actually add the specific employee so that this will come up in their employee file in the guard, but also then be associated here for easy visibility into all of those details. So it's really just connecting all those dots for you. So you could see Anne-Marie just picked from my list of Chronicles of Narnia characters there. Aslan is the related employee, which, God forbid he would do something, but all of the trainings, all of the policies, the related employees, the hotline report, it not only is going to come up here now, but she'll actually be able to go into the employee record and see the records of those trainings, the policy acknowledgements, as well as the incident report that was submitted right in here as well. So, and I think that's like holistically one of the biggest advantages you're going to have in a platform like this is more than just having really powerful tools for incident management. It's connecting the dots for you through the rest of your compliance program as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we round things out here. But just wanted everybody to see that, because to me, that's such a powerful feature to have not just the corrective action plan manually documented, but then being able to link that directly to the practical things that you're doing across the rest of our system. It's
And
pretty
here,
cool.
this feature here regarding related incidents, this one's really nice because you can go through and say, okay, I've had 4 patient charts left open in an unlocked workstation complaints this last quarter. You can list all of them here so that you can, the corrective actions probably will be the same, right? And you can see that you have a trend here that maybe the safeguards you have in place are not sufficient enough, and maybe you need to change your policy or your procedure, and you need to add additional training and additional discipline and additional incentives to make sure that they are doing it right. When you don't have any reports, you should also be celebrating those. And it's
Yeah,
nice because if you had maybe 4 in the first quarter, and at the end of the quarter, you did the corrective action plan, and then you had none for the rest of the year, you can show that progression towards reactive to proactive,
awesome.
which is
Um,
really what we're all looking for, right?
yeah.
It's
So,
the dream.
so
So
with 15 minutes left in the session here, Emery, um, I know that you had we had that question about reports, and I think it would be great to show some of that. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover in the incidents section, though, before we move into here?
I think one of the nice things about the incident and the hotline reporting is that you just have this everything together, and you can show consistent handling of discipline for similar incidents. You can show consistent handling of like types of violations. And if you're ever sued or whatever, and you say you didn't react to this the way I thought you would, you can show, yeah, like I had 4 of these complaints in the first quarter, but everything that I did put in place was enough of a mitigation to make sure it didn't happen again in the next quarters. And I think it's really just that kind of thing. And like, for example, if you have a control on workstations that you're monitoring and risk assessments. You can make sure that you increase the time that you look at it, right? Like, so if you had 4 in 1 quarter, those next 3 quarters, you're gonna look at that control again to make sure that you're,
Mm.
getting done everything you need to get done. I
A
think
good question we got as well from Yvonne is asking, every incident require a hotline report to be entered?
it
And
does not. You can enter an incident. Let's say there's 2 ways you can do this. Let's say you get a report from somebody in person, or somebody slips something under your door, which used to happen to me all the time. Um, then you can report it directly into the incidents. You can, just create an incident yourself, or you can create a hotline report, and create it as an anonymous report. If they didn't tell you who they were, if they agree to be, you can enter it there if that's how you want to handle it. It depends. If you already know it's going to be an incident, I don't think you need to add it to the hotline report. But if it might not be an incident, you might want to add it there
Mhm.
instead.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Yvonne. Let's talk about reports.
Yeah. So you were asking about, what can you see? So this gives you your incident trends. It gives you incidents by category. So it's an overall view. Wow, I had 3 incidents that were information and security, only 1 that was patient. That's pretty good, but I had 2 clinical care, and then I had 1 employee conduct. You can also see how many of your incidents are anonymous. This is kind of almost half the incident, more than half the incidents were filed anonymously. That's an indication that people might fear retaliation if they're anonymously reporting and not willing to identify themselves. Um, and each of these little widgets are downloadable. So if you want to put this incident by category in your, leadership report this month, you can download it as a CV, or you can download it as an image. And that's what all of these little things are for. So if you want to use, this is my incidents by priority, and want to create a slide out of that, you can just download these, and have them available for you in external reporting. And then again, we've got all of the incidents here, their priorities, their statuses, whether or not they've been resolved, and whether or not they were anonymous, and who the reporter was, if they're known. Rick Johnson's very, very good at reporting things here, as you can see. And also your location, from where they were. And then you can download these either as a PDF or as a CSV file. So if you want to just do a data dump and have it in an Excel spreadsheet, you can do that. Or if you want it more in a report form, you can get the PDF version, which has a nice title page and all of those other things attached to it. The other types of reports are, more detailed. So if you want a category detail report, for example, this is where you could get, and there might not be a lot of data here, I'm sorry. You have to select what category you want. Which one did we say we had? I think we had multiple of this one. And you can generate a report. And it gives you the subcategories, report by subcategory. So let's say you had 10 subcategories here. You would see all of those here, which is really nice. It gives you, over the selected time span, which had the fastest growth, device lost, longest time to resolution, and the most common subcategory.
Awesome.
So, and that's kind of really nice. They're all trending. Obviously, once you have more information in here, these statistics will be more meaningful.
Yeah. So Eldar, hopefully that answered your question. I'm actually seeing a chat from him. So he said, wow, that's impressive and practical for OIG compliance perspective. So great feedback on this feature, Emery.
Yeah, it
Um,
really is, and if you need a specific date as well, you can just do it by that. If you don't want the whole year, if you want the last 7 days, the last 30 days, the quarter, whatever you'd like. If you wanna do it by quarter, if you wanna start on 1/1/25, you can. You don't have to pick it here. So,
so Christy asked a question. She asked, Is the compliance officer the initial owner of incident reports?"
yes, it depends. So the owner of your guard subscription is the initial owner, and then it can be changed to any person you'd like, as long as they are a user, an administrative user of the guard, and not just in the employee area where the employees don't have access to the guard itself, but they get access to to the policies and the trainings that you assign to them.
Yeah, and you'll see that's what we were showing even on those assignments before, Christy, where like you could set somebody else to be the owner of a specific event type so that they get those notifications, and it would automatically then be assigned to them when you go into the routing settings here. Yeah, so whoever you have it set up to be auto-assigned to, so it might be different by category, but you could also make them all yourself. Routing a feature, I believe it'll be available very soon, even allowing you to pick multiple people to get those assignments.
Yeah.
We have an applause emoji and a thumbs up emoji from Christy, so
We
that's a
like
good.
that. And then the other routing one is, depending on how you're set up, it might be that you have a compliance officer in each of your locations and you'd rather route by location, and you can do it that way as well.
Yeah. So somebody asked, and I might be misunderstanding the question. The question was, do you have a template for PT for proficiency? Um, unless you understand, unless I'm missing something, Anne Marie,
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Pereira, maybe you could clarify what you're looking for there.
By patient, maybe?
Yeah, let's see if we get a response. Just ask for clarification. Okay, so with some of those questions, maybe as we wrap this up here, Anne Marie, you could go back to the slides, and I'll quickly, I want to just re-emphasize for everybody. And this report here that Anne Marie just opened up is another example of a resolution time report. There's many different types of these reports. So for those of you where this is important, I can imagine, and Anne Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, I can imagine stuff like this being so great for board reporting as well.
It's
Like when you're,
excellent for board reporting. It's excellent for even just leadership reporting. If you're invited to the operational meetings, you want to be able to show them how they're doing. You can do those reports by location and actually hand them out to the people who have work to do and the people who did well. Right? You don't forget um, to appreciate the people who are doing well and not getting a lot of reports.
yeah, 100%. So if you go to the next slide, Anne Marie, one of the things that I just want to reemphasize here, folks, as we're wrapping up the session, not anything else in the Q&A area. If you go to the next slide, Anne Marie, one of the things that I want to reemphasize is the main challenge. If I could crystallize, like, what is the main challenge that compliance group solves? It's even when you think about the 7 elements of an effective compliance program and all of the things that you're managing for your organization right now, the common challenge that our customers come to us having is that, well, I have policies, but they're in a drive or an intranet. We have training in an LMS. We're doing risk assessment on spreadsheets. Maybe we have a separate system for incident management or spreadsheets or Word documents. I had somebody yesterday tell me that it was just a file cabinet full of incident reports that were filled up by hand, and it was a by hand paper process that they had. The biggest advantage that I think that you would have as a customer of Compliancy Group is that you can have not just your incident reporting and management needs in here, but also all of those workforce compliance needs across policies, trainings, and exclusion monitoring checks for like OIG checks and things like that. Your risk assessment and overarching program management needs handled in here, as well as things like third-party risk management on top of incident management. our goal is that this becomes a very holistically managed system for the entire compliance program, not just for one isolated portion of it. We've been talking a lot about incident management today, but our ideal situation and our hope for you is that this helps you consolidate as many aspects of your compliance program as possible into a single system. And you'll see in the top right corner of your screen, if you would like to schedule a more personalized demo, either of the incidents tool that we covered today or of any other part of the platform, you could actually just click that button in the top right corner of your screen, and it'll actually redirect you to a scheduler, which will allow you to just schedule time with somebody in our team. I'm happy to get involved in those sessions myself. I'm sure Anne-Marie is as well, to just make sure we're giving you a clear understanding of what can be done in here.
Yeah,
If you want
and
to go to the next slide as well, Anne-Marie.
yeah, I just want to reiterate how comprehensive the platform is. We're trying to cover everything that might be within your purview so that you don't have to utilize multiple tools to do your job. So,
100%. And if
that
anybody wanted
is
to,
that the last slide? It's
if
not
you
advancing,
go,
sorry. There we go.
no worries, there we go. So if anybody would like to reach out to us, number one, so you could click that link in the upper right-hand corner. You could email me or Anne-Marie. Our emails are up here on the screen. Anybody who is on the session today will get a copy of the presentation and the recording sent to them via email. It'll also be on our YouTube channel. If you don't see that, feel free to shoot us an email or email info@compliancegroup.com. Somebody will follow up with you right away. Uh, we've got about 4 minutes left, and I'm not seeing any other questions here at this time. Let me double check. Yeah, no other questions at this time. We really appreciate everybody joining today. Hopefully this was a helpful overview, not just of our system, but also maybe giving you some ideas for ways that you could enhance your existing workflow independently of the tool. Overall, we really appreciate everybody's time, and thank you as well for hopping on here with me, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your time this afternoon, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks.